Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and happy Friday the 13th to everyone out there. It's going to be a good one, and I hope all of you are doing well as we get things kicked off here with, well, you guessed it, Ralph Bond. He is a regular here. He is a staple of the Computer America Show. And yeah, we talk all things interesting news, inspiring, hopeful news, if you will. That's, I think, the best way that we could put it. And also, of course, he is from Autodesk, so a number of these stories have an Autodesk bent to them as well. So happy to have him on, and we'll be talking to him in just a moment. But let's go ahead and talk about a few things, including ComputerAmerica.com. You can find that. Well, you can find everything there that includes, show notes, live video feed, and the contest. And by the way, we will have a winner of our Logitech social media contest here, and we'll be doing that later on in the program. All right. So with all that said, and again, I should really point out the show notes because Ralph does a lot of work and makes it look very, very nice. If you check out the show notes for today, you can find them on Facebook, you can find them on Twitter, you can find them, of course, at our website, YouTube, anywhere. There will be a link in there called the cheat sheet. And that cheat sheet will have, it will have all the stories that we do today with, the publications that they come from and more reading and, of course, and a few of these videos that you should definitely check out. And yeah, again, all that at computeramerica.com as well. So with that being said, let's just jump into this. And again, Ralph Bond, let's actually do his full introduction. So Ralph Bond is a correspondent for the Computer America Show and is the author of Family Computer Fun, Digital Ideas Using Your Photos, Music, and Movies. Movies and Music, there we go, by Q Publishing, and co-author of the PC Dad's Guide to Becoming a Computer Smart Parent by Dell Publishing. Ralph, of course, was Intel's Consumer Education Manager for more than 10 years and has been working for Autodesk on their communications team for the past 9, although it might be more than that now, not sure. But here we go. Ralph Bond, thanks for joining us on Computer America.
Hey, always great. And yeah, just passed the 10-year mark with Autodesk, and actually some more personal news about me. I turned 65 golden years last month.
Neat.
So now I'm going to semi-retire. So after the Autodesk University in Las Vegas, which ends on the 17th of November that week, I'm going to fully retire. I'm currently working in a reduced schedule, kind of transitioning into full retirement. And then hopefully, of course, I plan to continue on with the Computer America Show, of course.
Of course.
And who knows what other fun things I might wind up doing. So yeah, that's a little news about my life.
Question. And, I'm sure that a lot of people will eventually hit the stage that you're at. Are you excited? Because obviously, you really do seem to enjoy what you do, and it's, you've had a long career, but I mean, retirement, are you excited for it?
Well, yeah, it's very interesting you ask this question because I think it's a mixture of feelings. On one hand, it's so exciting to think about doing things around the house or traveling or whatever you want to do, your hobbies, without thinking all I have is Saturday and Sunday. I've got to try to ram everything into Saturday or Sunday. And so I can tell you right away, even with the semi-retirement, I'm working 2 hours a day for Autodesk currently. The amount of time I now have to do things outside of the weekend is a big, big thrill. That's the positive side of it. The scary part of it, as I'm sure you can immediately understand, especially with the world the way it is. And yeah, the economy and our stock market's been great for the last several years, but there's never any guarantee. It's the idea that you don't have a big paycheck regularly coming in, and you are, as one of my retired friends says, you start realizing all you're doing every month is bleeding money out of your, well, let's call it your reserve, whatever your retirement package may contain. So he said that's sometimes a really scary thing mentally to put your head around. That's why, for me personally, I'm hoping, since I've invested the last 10 years in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry through Autodesk, that I might be able to continue doing some spot project work there, and of course continue working with you guys too. So just sort of, have a little supplement, maybe income down the road for other projects. So that's where I'm at. That's where my head is at, and I'm on the Medicare dole now, if you want to call it that.
Yeah,
Matt, I'll tell you what, you could do a whole show on how do you figure out Medicare. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely, and I mean, you are in a pretty good position, with your expertise in technology. That even if you retire, it doesn't, it's not like you are retiring from bricklaying. Knowledge is key, and working from home, you can do more than ever.
Yeah.
And no, retirement does not mean full on, no longer doing anything. Heck, you might be doing more than you used to.
Well, and that's another, not to take too much time on this whole thing, but one of many of my retired friends, those who've retired ahead of me, have said, you're going to find out, Ralph, you may think you're going to have more time to relax. You're going to be busier than you've ever been before. The difference, you're busy doing things you're passionate about, your hobbies, you're exercising, whatever it is. Your days are going to be just as active and busy as they were when you're working full time. Again, the big difference is the financial part of it. That's a big life change.
Right. Yeah, definitely have to figure that out. But no, and again, we're going to move on to computer and technology news. But congratulations, that's a huge step.
Thank you.
And awesome to hear. But for today's show, Ralph does, go out. He scours the internet to find interesting news stories, and I think you have nailed that completely. So, again, the show notes, that everything that we talk about with links to the websites, links to the videos, everything compiled by Ralph Bond himself, tediously, meticulously, can be found at Computer America. So, a good place to start, Ralph. Story number 1.
Yeah, let's look at story number 1. Now, right off the top, friends, if you have the show notes, we can't stress enough, as Ben was just saying, get the show notes. They really give you a lot of information. And frequently, we're not able to cover everything in a show that I prepare for, but think of it as like a homework assignment, something you can go back and read and check on and so forth. We have the pictures, the links, everything you need. But this first story, I want to tell you right up front, I was on vacation, came back yesterday, found out in the meantime this project has been canceled, but the topic is interesting. The topic has to do about robotic devices that help you either entertain and or monitor your pets at home while you're away, right? So let's talk about the general topic. You can go to the show notes and read about this now defunct effort by this company. What is it called? Ant House. Yes, Ant House.
Right.
It was a LA startup company. Ant House had this roving robot. It would go around, and the premise was it was entertain your pet, help you monitor your pet. You could remotely contact it and speak to your animals and that sort of thing. So that whole premise. But I'll let the viewers go out and look at the show notes and read about it, because again, the project was canceled. But I'm going to share with you, Ben, and see what you think of this.
Sure.
Well, I have a dog. My wife and I have a dog and two kitties. And we just came back from a week-long road trip, right? Now, we're very, very lucky that we have a wonderful house sitter, pet care person who comes very modestly priced and comes and stays in our home. So it's an unbelievable package. But most people don't have that kind of resource. Or if they do, it's exorbitantly expensive. So could technology help? Of course it can. And one of the things that I was thinking about, I have a 2-story home, and the story about the Ant House project was this little kind of like tractor or like a tank tread kind of device, right? So it couldn't climb stairs. It's fine if you have a 1-floor flat or a 1-story home, but what if you're a 2-story property like mine? So when I found out the project was canceled, I thought to myself, well, what could be another way to go after this? How about this? I think as a pet owner, see if you agree, maybe the listeners too, the primary thing I want to know when I'm away is, are my animals okay? And maybe, where are they? I don't know if I'm expecting a robot to play with them. I'm not so sure my animals would go for that. I think they might be intimidated.
Right.
But I do want to monitor, and maybe I want to interact with them. But really, I just want to see them where are they, and see if everything in my house is okay. How about this? What if you had a very quiet, and it would need to be a very quiet drone that has its own recharging landing pad somewhere in the house, and you had technology that would allow you, when you purchase it, to pre-fly it around your house so it learns your home's, what would be the word?
Layout?
Map, if you want to call it that, right? Layout, thank you. Yeah, learns your layout. So we're talking some, fairly sophisticated technology.
Well,
I get that.
You're talking essentially a Roomba, kind of technology. It's not too
Roomba,
sophisticated.
yes,
right?
Airborne Roomba
Right.
concept. That's exactly right. And so once it's set up, I could pull out my iPhone or my Android phone or my tablet or whatever. I'm on the road and remotely access the drone and launch it, and I could fly it, right? But it's got enough pre-smarts about the layout not to crash into walls and stuff like that. So my flying is really not so much being a real pilot, but just saying, take me to the master bedroom. Tap, and it just flies there. And then you can take over and find your little kitty. Oh, the kitty's sleeping on the bed. Everything's fine. Move down the hall. So it's kind of a security monitoring pet interaction sort of solution based on a drone and based on some layout navigation technologies combined with remote access. That could be, to me, a very potentially appealing product, not only for pet monitoring, but as we were saying, just periodically checking in on the old home fort inside.
But you know what I kind of liked about Anthouse's kind of solution was that it seemed a bit more like my dream of interacting with my pet, because setting up a camera or a drone like you mentioned,
right?
Your pet would not be interested. Like you said, if anything, they might be afraid of it. If you could have something like an ant house that you could give your dog treats through the drone or through this through this device, then you could use a microphone, tell your dog to sit, and then give it a treat, and you could see it. You could interact with it a bit.
You've nailed it. That's the way any of these products, my drone fantasy or this robotics device that they were coming up with, dispense a treat, and then my animals will be interested.
Your drone could shoot little cat treats, and it'll be super interesting. And actually, this is a story that we did I think early this week or late last week. Kind of ties in story number 1 and story number 2. Ralph, are you familiar, and I've asked this before with another guest, are you familiar with Aibo?
Why do I know this name?
Sony or Samsung Aibo. I think it was Sony Aibo.
I think it's Sony. I think so. Yeah.
The robotic dog.
Oh, the dog. Yes.
And, it was pretty big in the early 2000s. It was a robotic dog. It could do, it was like a smart device before smart devices. Very, very high tech, but it didn't really catch on because, it was like $1,000 for an Aibo. And, and it was ridiculously expensive. Anyways, Sony said that they're looking to get back into robots. Here's our tie to story number 2. But it's going to be kind of a smart speaker, because I'm sure, Ralph, you've heard about Alexa and Google Home, things like that. Well, Sony wants to get into the market, but being Sony, they want to bring back Aibo to be a replacement for a smart speaker. So it would follow you around the house, you would talk to it like a companion, and you'd say things like, Aibo, turn on the lights, and it would turn on the lights in the room that you're in, or Aibo, lock the doors, and Aibo would lock the doors. It would be Aibo and a robot to do things for you, but it would also be a smart speaker. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so like a moving robotic Amazon Echo, for example, something like that, right? I think that could be compelling. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that of all countries, Japan is of course looking to robots and robotics as not just a manufacturing technique, but also something to solve little everyday hassles. And again, this is how we transition to, I think, definitely story number 2. They've also taken it to an extreme. So what's story number 2?
Yes, story number 2 from Business Insider, great website, of course. The headline is, "These Japanese hotels are run almost entirely by robots, and they want to expand to 100 more locations." It's a story by Emma Furberg and Chris Weller, and the show notes have a picture of one of the robots, and there's a video you can see. You need to go to the story. Use the link to go to the story to see the video.
Or if you're watching the video portion of the show, we're playing it as we do the story.
There you go. Perfect. That's great. It's a freaky, weird video.
It is.
And part of me, I have real mixed feelings about this because here's an example where robotics are displacing human workers, and for all of us, that's always kind of a tightrope of, I don't know, what would be the word, principle of the matter.
Yeah.
I hate to see people lose their jobs, but from a technology point of view and a humor point of view, if nothing else, this is kind of interesting. So it's a very, very short bit of notes because really the story is this video. And again, if you're playing it so people can see it, that's great. But very briefly, it just says that Japan now has 2 hotels run almost entirely by robots. The Henna, that's HEN''NA hotels, are owned by low-cost travel agency HIS Company. The hotels are in Nagasaki and Tokyo, Japan. There are robots to help you check into the hotel, robots to carry your luggage to your room. That's interesting. And robots to haul your trash away. That part doesn't surprise me too much. But this is a funny thing. Even the fish in the lobby's tank are robots.
Yeah.
An HIS company wants to open 100 more robot-run hotels in the next few years. So again, a very, very brief story. The real meat and potatoes is the video, and check it out if you're not able to see the video that Ben is playing for you right now. Be sure to check it out.
Right. Yeah. The video shows, and it's not just hearing about these robots, but and you know, I'm sure, Ralph, you've seen the video that robots are robots, but you can make them look like different things. You know, they had a humanoid, you know, kind of a human receptionist, but they also had a couple other kind of receptionists working the front counter of the hotel, like right there on the video. If you want to be checked into your room by a robotic velociraptor, they have you covered.
Yes. Kids would love that. Can you imagine?
Oh my, yeah. Oh, kids for sure. But it had like the little bellhop, you know, little hat on it, and it was like it was so freaky. But yeah. So they definitely do that. They have bellhops. That they had a robotic arm being, you know, for the coat, you know, for the coat room that takes your coat. I mean, they have really automated a lot of this, and I'm sure part of it, at least now, you know, just like looking at it, a few of these robots are a bit slower than a human would be. Obviously, I think it's more of a, you know, novelty. It's like, hey, wouldn't you stay at a hotel that is run completely by robots? It's probably it's probably not more efficient, but it's unique.
Yeah, I think you're right about the unique part. I think that probably the way it would work would be in specialty entertainment resort kind of situations where before you understand what you're getting into. You get it. I consciously want to choose to go to this hotel for this unique experience because you're right. Invariably, they're not going to be as instantly responsive and capable as a human being would be. But the novelty part, I think the answer is a hybrid. Keeps humans, but spice it up with some of these comical robots. Like the bellhop that's a dinosaur or something.
Right.
Maybe you're at a theme park, Universal Studios theme park or something. I don't know. You know, maybe have robots that look like your favorite cartoon character or something. I mean, this could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So a hybrid solution would retain human employees as well as augment them with these funny, interesting characters.
Right. But you know, it's super, super interesting, and I mean, I think they're pretty ambitious. 100 more in the next couple of years.
That's ambitious.
We'll
very ambitious.
We'll see if they ever make it out of Japan. But yeah, there you have it. So, all right. So, story number 3, and this one, I mean, we've talked a bit about the use of drones, and you know, with drones, we talk about filming things in architecture and engineering and construction, as you always like to point out. But here's a use for the drone that is equally as vital, but a bit different.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, let's get into the story, and then I'll make a little side commentary before we start reading through it. And this is going to be a long one, but it's to me, so important, especially in light of what's going on in poor Puerto Rico right now. Oh, my goodness. And you'll see how this all fits. So the headline is Drones Carrying Blood Could Be the Future of Rural Medicine. I also would contend the future of disaster situations like Puerto Rico right now, right? The source of this story is The Verge. The story is by Rachel Becker. And if you have the show notes, you can see a little image of this specialized drone. And so let me tell you, again, this is going to be a long story, but friends, this is so important. I think the implications are great. So here we go. It says, a drone flew chilled human blood for 160 miles over the hot Arizona desert, smashing records for transport of biological samples on a remotely operated vehicle. The blood was still in good condition after the 3-hour flight, which means that the growing role of drones in rural medicine care really could have the potential to save lives. Yes, applause, applause. And again, think of things like Puerto Rico. For people who live in remote areas, going to the doctor or getting lab tests can be challenging, of course. That's why using drones to drop off medical supplies or pick up blood samples for testing could be a game changer. Some companies, like California-based Zipline, have been in the game for a few years, delivering blood for transfusions by drone in Rwanda, in Africa, of course, and soon in Tanzania. So it's already, happening. It's already being put into practice. As the technology becomes more widely used, researchers want to make sure the precious biological samples transported by drone aren't pulverized by the vehicle's vibrating engine or cooked by hot outside temperatures, for instance. Earlier studies showed that drone travel left blood undamaged, but those were short flights that didn't reflect the distance a drone might have to travel to reach truly remote regions. There's a little aside here. It says Zipline's drones can fly around 93 miles in a trip. That's impressive.
Crazy, yeah.
Isn't that something? That's remarkable. Now, it goes on to say, so pathology professor Timothy Amukili, I think I'm saying that right, at Johns Hopkins University collected blood samples from 21 adults and flew half of the samples on a drone for 3 hours over the dry heat of the Arizona desert. The other set of samples was kept in an air-conditioned car for comparison. Amukali and his team used a hybrid drone that combined a helicopter's ability to launch and land vertically with a glider's long flight range. That's the hybrid part of this drone. And again, there's an image in the show notes for the video that really shows you what this thing looks like. It's a cool looking thing. The researchers attached a custom-built foam-cushioned cooler to the drone's fuselage. Powered by the vehicle's onboard battery, the cooler kept the samples at about 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees cooler than the outside air. Now, we all know about the Arizona desert. It can certainly be hotter than 85 degrees, but I still think this is a compelling test. And you can see the video. We have the show notes. Maybe you're showing the video now as we speak. And going on, it says, after the flight, the team ran 19 tests on the blood, counting cells and measuring levels of sodium and carbon dioxide, among other things. Then they compared the results from the blood on the drone with the blood in the car to check whether the flight had affected the test results' accuracy. The drone blood was completely fine. Only 2 of the test results differed significantly, glucose and potassium levels. But the researchers suspect that's because the blood in the car was kept about 4 degrees warmer than the samples in the drone. The car samples deteriorated somewhat in the heat, skewing the results. So what? The car samples perform not as well as the drone samples. Right. You gotta love that, right? Now, the findings, by the way, in the show notes have all the links, friends. The findings were recently published in the American Journal of Clinical Pathology. Now, it goes on to say, before drones are used to carry blood over longer distances, the researchers will need to do more trial flights using blood samples from people who aren't quite as healthy as the volunteers in the study. It's possible that drone flight could have a bigger effect on blood with excessively high or excessively low levels of glucose, for example. Then it says, plus, there's a matter of safety. If a drone carrying hazardous materials were to crash, it would endanger people on the ground. They meaning to say blood samples that might have virus or some other things that could potentially be a problem, right? So drones for medical transport should be regulated. Pilots should have licenses, and specific drone routes should be designated to prevent crashes, of course. Then it concludes by saying there's a lot of work ahead to make sure drones are safely incorporated into the healthcare infrastructure. But today's study provides a promising forecast of the future. Hooray, applause. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, this is, and like, it makes sense that they went to, these I'm sorry, I think it was Tanzania and Rwanda,
Right.
where they're about to. And like, it makes sense there because obviously, we have the FAA here who handles drone and things like that. I feel like
Right.
if this is going to take off in the U.S., right now you are not allowed to fly a drone outside of eyesight. There's a bunch of limitations, yada yada
Right.
yada. Like, we just don't have kind of the freedom to let every researcher out of every college fly drones over people's heads to test them for
Yeah.
this kind of duration. So I mean, I think that the regulations have to come into place, but this seems like a natural evolution of emergency care, because I think it was one of your stories that a couple of months ago we talked about drones that have paddles, for jump starting people's hearts again. They were attaching those to drones, and those would go out before ambulances.
Yeah. And you know what? As we were thinking about this, the bit about out of sight drone piloting,
Right.
maybe this is something that's already being done or being looked at. But of course, our entire nation, pretty much all of it, is peppered with cell phone towers, right? We've got the whole cell phone thing where your call, unbeknownst to you, passes from one tower to the next, to the next, to the next, as you say are driving along and making a long phone call or something. I wonder if our cell phone towers infrastructure, if you want to call it that, or even I guess of course some of it's microwave, isn't it? But here's where I'm going.
Right.
Could they be retrofit with a little additional technology to pre-program and plan the flights of drones, so that a drone takes off and then it kind of like an airplane that gets on air traffic control, and from there it's guided, right?
So like highways,
some kind of
yeah,
kind of sort of. I mean, I don't know. It just occurred to me when you mentioned a bit about the problem of out of sight flight, which is an issue. How could you overcome that? Can you find some way to
that
automate
might
its pathfinding?
Yeah, that might already be solved with
Might be.
by 2019. Everyone, I'm sure we're going to talk about this probably next year or more and more, but the 5G network, because right now we use the 4G and the 4G LTE, the 5G network should be up and running by 2019. So maybe 5G technology with its increased bandwidth and increased coverage and radius, maybe it solves that problem already just by that.
Maybe it's that's a fun technology challenge, I guess you could say, to kind of contemplate.
Absolutely. So, yep, drones and used in healthcare. Drones have a lot of different uses, so very, very cool. All right, so this next one, and I had this news story. We did not cover it because just didn't have the time, but I was super interested because it's toys and gadgets that you and I and probably 99.9% of the rest of us will never get to play with. But, I think Aston Martin, people have heard the name, very high-end cars, and looks like they're getting into the personal submarine game as well.
Yeah, so we'll get started on this before we need to take our break here. But the story is from CNN Money, a story by Alana Petrov. And the headline is Aston Martin is making an ultra-exclusive $4 million personal submarine. I added personal to the headline. $4 million submarine. So this is for that 1%, those 1%ers with the kind of money that you were talking about before. Yeah. Not for me. Probably not for you, Ben, although I wouldn't presume. And the show notes have a great image. This thing's cool looking. I mean, I don't know. Looks like a spaceship, kind of like a manta ray. I don't know. It's just a really cool looking thing. So you got to get the show notes or check it out online and see what we're talking about. So here's the story. It says James Bond. Oh yes, James Bond famously captained a Lotus car turned submarine in the 1977 movie The Spy Who Loved Me. Not to be outdone, Aston Martin, the British luxury automaker with close ties to the fictional spy, is now planning to build a real submarine, again, personal submarine. The luxury submarine will be built in collaboration with Triton Submarines, a company that produces multi-million-dollar submersibles for wealthy clients. Aston Martin is taking a lead on the design while Triton will produce the final product. So Aston Martin is going to be the styling, the look and feel, that kind of thing. And Triton will do the mechanics, as it were.
Yeah, and actually, and by the way, Ralph, before we get started, music means we're going to take a break here, and we'll be back in just a moment with Ralph Bond as we get into this submarine. And if you have a super yacht and you're looking for a new toy for your super yacht, hey, this could be very exciting. So everyone, Ralph Bond, more news and tech stuff, and of course a winner for a contest right after this. Stay tuned.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour, and before we continue on with with these stories, we are actually going to announce our winner for our contest. So, by the way, anyone out there who has not heard about this, every Friday we give away a prize from Logitech. That's right. It's the M720 Triathlon mouse. It lets you control 3 devices through one Bluetooth mouse. Pretty darn cool. And we give one away to a lucky listener every single Friday. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and Ralph, if you would do the drums. Perfect.
Should I do my own verbal drums?
No, actually they should be. Oh, wait. Oh, I know what happened. Perfect. Yeah, that's actually good because our soundboard is messed up and we don't have drums. So perfect.
Okay,
thank you for that.
Drums. Here we go.
All right, go. And this week's winner is Miss Melinda Grubb. Melinda Grubb, congratulations. And yeah, my cheering and everything's messed up. So anyways, yay, Melinda, as we go ahead. Yep, yay. And who listens to us, by the way, in Lee Summit, Montana. MO is Montana. In Lee Summit, Montana. And Melinda, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out Computer America. And thanks for entering. So we're going to contact her, get a prize sent out to her ASAP. And yeah, that's all it takes. All you had to do, check out computeramerica.com. Now, of course, back with Ralph Bond, back with all these great stories. And we are, just now doing this. Aston Martin is teaming up with, it makes sense that, Aston Martin, the car manufacturer, the engine manufacturer is not, going out into the submarine business alone. They have a partner, they have a friend in Triton. So, like you were saying, let's get back to the story.
Yeah, okay. So, and just to recap a little bit, it said that Aston Martin is taking the lead on the design of this personal submersible for the super wealthy, while Triton will produce the final product. And I thought it was hilarious before the break when you were saying, if you're looking for something to add to your super yacht,
of course,
we got this for you.
Right.
Of course. Anyway, finish up the story. Says only a handful of the Aston Martin subs will be created with a price tag of around $4 million. They're expected to start shipping to customers by the end of 2018, so we're a ways off. Aston Martin is one of the world's last fully independent automakers and is best known for making beautiful, high-performance luxury cars. They've notched up 11 James Bond film appearances. As Aston Martin spokesperson insists the submarine won't dilute the automaker's brand. Kind of a pun there. Did you get it? Won't dilute?
Water? Absolutely.
Sorry. I couldn't resist. Quote, we're looking at the regeneration of our product lineup, he said. It won't be the firm's first aquatic offering. Last year, it unveiled a powerboat, and so far, it's delivered 2 of their powerboats to clients. Only 2. It must be pretty expensive. Aston Martin has recently been branching out into complementary side projects. It launched a new business in 2016, Aston Martin Consulting, to offer advice to clients on topics related to design, engineering, and manufacturing. That's kind of interesting. So the inference being almost from a business strategy point of view. Again, Triton submarines, they're making the product, but Aston Martin's people are the look, feel, design, imagery part of the whole equation. And it sounds like maybe they're using this submarine as a test case, kind of, to promote their capabilities to offer that service to other manufacturing companies. So that's kind of an interesting business diversification twist to this story. But back to the story, while a submarine may sound like a crazy idea to most, the top 1% might think differently. Personal submarines have become a must-have accessory for many super-rich yacht owners. And in 2013, billionaire Tesla boss Elon Musk paid $860,000 to buy the Lotus Esprit. Esprit, is that right? Is that how you say it? That was featured in the 1977 Bond movie. Let's try that again.
Right.
Musk said at the time that he planned to turn the prop car into a real submarine, the very thing it was built to portray in the film. And there's a funny quote here. It says, "I was disappointed," this is Elon Musk, "I was disappointed to learn it can't actually transform. What I'm going to do is upgrade it with a Tesla electric powertrain and try to make it transform for real."
That is the kind
story.
of thing you do when you have Elon Musk kind of ingenuity and money. When you buy, when really you buy a prop, you buy a prop for a movie, and you say, it's fake and it's movie magic, but I'm gonna make this happen. Super cool. So
yeah. That is fun. It's a hoot.
Yeah. So but you're right. This does seem. I think that you got there in the middle about how it's not it's not Aston Martin looking to get into the submarine game. It's Aston Martin looking to get into the consulting game. And if you can go from cars to submarines and you can make it look stylish, which I gotta admit, again, if you look at the rendering, it looks stylish as heck. Then this is an elaborate advertisement for their consulting part of their new business. So pretty cool.
Oh yeah. And I was thinking about what is that theme parks? Is it SeaWorld? I think there's some in Florida and California. Can you imagine? Yeah. So you buy one of these things, or maybe do a deal with Aston Martin to put one of these subs in a giant pool or something, and guests can pay a fee to take a short little ride. Wouldn't that be fun? I mean, that could be a cool thing to do with these subs. Yeah. And it'd be great branding, a great kind of branding stunt, if you want to call it that. So a lot of fun there.
Not even SeaWorld, but I grew up in South Florida, and the Keys were right there, and the Bahamas, and Turks and Caicos. Like scuba diving, it's huge, but scuba diving takes a lot of training. It is risky. There are inherent health risks that you have to worry about. Hey, submersibles, no real health risk. You just sit back and watch. So tourism, like you said, I think like you were getting at, tourism for these things can also be a definite draw. So very, very cool. But why don't we go ahead? Yeah, why don't we go ahead and poke along to story number 5. And this one's interesting because you have found out firsthand. I think many listeners out there have tried it. I just have a friend that was able to start working from home. They essentially eliminated her office, and they were able to say, "Hey, you're working from home now," and they're like, "Great, whatever." It seemed like a real boon. But the idea that you can do your job from anywhere in the world, the connectivity that we have with the internet, makes you wonder why people start companies, in places that have extremely high cost of living, that have extremely, it's crowded, it's there's not enough room. Well, tech companies seem to have figured out that you don't necessarily have to do that. So, story number 5.
Right, that's right. And this comes from TNW, which is the new web. Story by George Beale. The title is Techies are leaving San Francisco, really the Bay Area. But where are they going? So what you're referring to about the work at home movement using technology, doesn't matter where you are, I think applies to what people like myself who would be called individual contributors to a company or a team versus team kind of efforts where you do need to have physical proximity. So the story here has more to do with the latter.
Okay.
why some companies are saying, hey, we're going to expand. We're a Bay Area-based company, but we're going to expand outside of the Bay Area. Autodesk, my company, is a great example of that. We have operations in New England. We have operations here in Oregon, where I'm calling, and operations, of course, around the world as well, Montreal in Canada, for example. So this is an interesting story. Again, techies are leaving San Francisco, but where are they going? And it says here, San Francisco's role, and really they should say the Bay Area, as the center of the American technology industry could be changing. Skyrocketing real estate prices, along with other employment and demographic trends, are forcing tech companies and workers alike to reconsider the attractions of living in the city by the Bay. Recent census data for 2016 shows that several of California's most tech-friendly cities, including San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego, are now showing net out migration, or more people are leaving the area than coming in. So again, that was San Francisco, LA, and San Diego. These aren't the only U.S. cities losing population in technology. Census data also shows more people leaving Chicago and New York than are arriving. But where are they going and why? And then there's a subhead, whither techies? The census data names Seattle, Portland, and we should say Portland, Oregon, because there is another Portland in Maine, friends. So let's be clear. Seattle, Portland, Oregon, Phoenix, most of Florida, Austin, and Dallas are cities showing the greatest net in migration of techies, or more people coming than going, each with a net gain of more than 5,000 people in 2016. Maricopa County, home of the cities of Phoenix and Mesa, added more than 200 people per day in 2016. Seattle gained more than 1,000 new residents every week.
Wow.
Goes on to say, yeah, wow is right. According to Tim Hellenthal, president and COO of the national moving company National Van Lines, and boy, these guys know what they're talking about, right, when it comes to migration and people moving around, says, quote, as real estate prices jump in many metro areas, we see a lot of moves away from expensive cities to places with active job markets and more affordable cost of living. There's a key in that sentence, active job markets and more affordable. Maybe not affordable, but more affordable than the Bay Area. That's a couple of qualifiers, okay? Yeah. And it's important to keep that in mind. Goes on quoting this fella, says, we're seeing movers going to job markets like Seattle and Austin, where there are a lot of tech-related jobs, but we also see cities like Phoenix, Denver, Las Vegas, Portland, Oregon, and St. Paul. That's kind of interesting. Vegas and St. Paul. Phoenix, yeah. Denver, I get that. Portland, Oregon, sure. But Las Vegas and St. Paul, to me, were kind of interesting to think of them as high-tech attraction cities. And I think that's great, right? Mm-hmm. Where job market isn't as hot, but have a substantially lower cost of living than San Francisco. So that's a qualifier. And it's not too hard to be cheaper than San Francisco. Yeah. Maybe New York City is more expensive, but Silicon Valley's loss could be these cities' gain. Lanny Rosales, Chief Operating Officer of Austin-based entrepreneurship news site, The American Genius, and sister news outlet, The Real Daily, says, quote, there's a lot of uncertainty from fellow media organizations, fellow media organizations in Silicon Valley about the tech sector there. But here in Austin, we're optimistic. Yeah, Austin's a great city. We still have a lot of larger companies like Oracle coming to town for the lower operating costs, along with the healthy and diverse homegrown startup culture. We're also first in the country for angel investment and fourth for software-related venture capitalist investment. And by the way, related to this is this whole big story. I know you've been hearing about it, Ben. Where is Amazon going to put its second headquarters? Right.
The stories right coming out of that are ridiculous. Like I haven't really been reading them. I've just been reading the headlines, and they had one mayor who was going to do 100 video Amazon reviews, just to show how dedicated he is to Amazon. There was a place in Georgia, I believe, that said they were going to rename their entire city Amazon, Georgia, and
funny.
Man, it's because I get it. You know, it'll be a huge boon to any local economy if they were able to land it. But man, Crazy.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and I totally get it. I mean, you were talking about, the cost of living in New York and of course the Bay Area. You're right.
Hmm.
It's not too hard to be cheaper, and
Hmm. Hmm.
man, it's interesting to see. Like, I don't think the Bay Area, like, it's probably inflated. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think it's gonna ever become a ghost town. It's probably gonna stay a hub of tech. But I think it's kind of nice to see. We have a lot of room here in America. We have a lot of states. We have a lot of empty space. Why don't we start
Hmm.
using some of it? So this is cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. And just a side note of local interest for me, because I'm based very close to Portland, Oregon. I believe I have this right. I think I read in our local paper that the city of Portland offered Amazon, said, "You come and be with us. You pick us. We'll give you." I believe it was a 13-acre abandoned postal service property and facility. And I think I have this story right. I hope I do. That basically it sounded like, "We'll give you this property if you'll come." So to your point about companies or cities bending over backwards, doing backflips of offers to get these guys to come, because the estimate is upwards to 50,000 jobs
Yeah.
could be created once they move, and that could be so significant to a local economy. So we'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
where they go.
Yeah, but you do have to kind of balance that, because I've heard of stories about, like, cities who give tax breaks and credits and land
Hmm.
to car manufacturing facilities, and then the city or the state never truly breaks even because of all the incentives they gave. They
That's
never
right.
truly break even on the economy. But no, you're right. It's going to be impressive to see what Amazon does. They are one of the biggest companies, if not the biggest company by now. It's gonna be weird. So, uh,
Yeah.
so with that being said, Amazon, that's a story for every other day of the year. Why don't we move on to story number 6? Because it's Toys R Us filed for Chapter 9 or something like that, bankruptcy, where essentially they restructure everything and they
Right.
try to kind
Right.
of bring it back in. So obviously, Toys R Us, they're having some sort of a crisis, and they're not really getting people to go into stores anymore. And well,
Hmm.
enter story number 6.
Yeah, yeah, no, right. And this is a story from Engadget by a writer I've been following for a number of years, John Fingus. Great, great reporter. Headline is Toys R Us hopes AR, augmented reality, will bring you back to its stores. Oh, what a problem brick and mortar stores have these days, right, friends? And before we dive into the story, a little side commentary. I have been personally, maybe not everybody agrees, but I'm immensely impressed with how Best Buy pulled itself out from a potential nosedive and crash,
Mm-hmm.
redefined itself, and got on board with competing with the online outlets like Amazon and so forth, making their own online outlets, but also having in-store return policies and price checking. I was in a Best Buy a couple weeks back looking at some wireless headphones, and the guy said, "Let me double check and make sure that we're giving you the best possible
Aw.
price." And he had a tablet with him, and he could go and see what Amazon or other people were charging for the product in question to ensure. And if it wasn't the best price, they would sell me it at the best price. That's the kind of
I have also done
creativity.
that. I've also done that, and Best Buy, I gotta say kudos to them. Even if the prices from Amazon and whatnot are 20-30 bucks cheaper, the ability to walk into Best Buy, pick it
Yes.
up, and pay the
Yes.
same price, awesome. So definitely,
Yes,
I
it
know what
is
you're talking
awesome,
about.
and let's do a little more love for Best Buy, because a couple weeks back, as I said, I was there. I bought a pair of wireless headphones,
Hmm.
but they were not ones. They were not a model. They were Sennheiser, so I knew the brand, and I knew the brand was good. But the model in question wasn't physically on display, so I couldn't try them on my head and over my big Dumbo ears. And so I said to the sales guy, I said, "Hey, if I take this home and they aren't comfortable with me, I can bring them back for a full refund, right?" And he said, "Oh, yes, within 2 weeks, no problem, totally good, full refund, not store credit, no restocking fee for this particular item,"
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And lo and behold, I got home and tried them out for a couple of days, and they just weren't quite as comfortable as I was hoping. Took them back, no problem, no hassle, charge put back on off the card or whatever the right word is, and
Yeah.
so kudos to them. So Toys R Us. I think Toys R Us should take a play lesson from what you and I just discussed about what Best Buy did to save themselves, not only save themselves, but turn themselves into, I think, a viable brick and mortar hybrid. I think they're going to survive, whereas others are going to fail. But let's go into this story again, Engadget by John Fingus about Toys R Us, hoping augmented reality will bring you back to the stores. There's a great video you can see on this too, but here's the story. It says, let's say you're Toys R Us. You've just declared bankruptcy and you're looking for something, anything that might convince customers to visit your stores instead of buying all their toys through Amazon. What would you do? If you ask Toys R Us, the answer is simple. Make a game out of store visits. Well, we'll see. It says the retailer has unveiled Playchaser, a free augmented reality app for Android and iOS that turns stores into virtual playgrounds. Point the app at star icons in the store, and your kids can play basketball, including with other kids, or take home a digital doll. Not quite sure what that is. The brand's mascot, Jeffrey the Giraffe, will even introduce the app and get players started.
And by the way, just real quick, if you were wondering about the virtual doll, it kind of immediately made sense to me. Where I'm sure you're familiar with Pokemon Go, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in some cases you have to go out to gyms or certain locations or special events, and you pick up a Pokemon. So like they might have some kind of game collection where you collect different dolls from
I get it.
anywhere, and then they have special ones exclusively in the store. I would assume.
Yeah, that would be a fun interactive model.
Right.
And then it goes on to say Playchaser, this augmented reality app, currently is testing across 23 American stores, most of them in California, New York, and North Carolina. However, it should be available across all the stores in the country as of October the 21st, so coming up pretty soon here. Then I think Mr. Fingus, the author, is correct. He says, will this work? It's hard to say. There will no doubt be some kids who beg to go back to the store as a result. And you just know this will lead to purchases as kids conveniently find toys they wouldn't have discovered without exploring the store. Okay, that's fair. However, the logistics suggested that Toys R Us won't want to rely too heavily on Playchaser as part of its comeback. Never mind the thought of traveling to the store to play games. While many parents can spare tablets and other devices to their kids, how many parents will trust their young ones to carry those devices through a store? Good point. It may well sweeten the experience for children and parents if it keeps the kids preoccupied, but it might not change your mind if you were already bent on shopping from home. So there's a video you can see, and I should be fair to Toys R Us. Perhaps they already have a price comparison deal. Maybe if you can go in and say, hey, Amazon's got this toy for this price, will you match the price? Maybe they already have that, so I do want to be fair. I don't know that for a fact, but I wish them well. Of course, Toys R Us is very special in my heart. My gosh, when my kids were little, it was a big deal to go to Toys R Us in the days before we had a lot of internet exposure and a lot of things that they could see things through that. They would hear about some cool toy, and we'd go to. It was like a ritual before Christmas to go to Toys R Us and check things out, and all. So I wish them well. I really do. I just hope that they'll get innovative like Best Buy and pull out of this bankruptcy problem.
Yeah, they were where I got my first bicycle. It's
there you go.
They were the toy store before Walmart became also a toy store.
Yes.
It seems like Toys R Us was on every street corner. But you're right. Like this. This AR adventure, it's an experience, and it's probably, pretty interesting. But at the same time, I think what you're getting to, like with Best Buy, it's not a business shift. It's not, something that's going to, maybe shift their revenue business model, blah, blah, blah. Like an AR game is going to be interesting, but you're right. It's probably not a game changer for Amazon, or for Toys R Us. So.
Yeah, and as you were speaking, I just did a quick search here.
Sure.
Toys R Us price match policy. So again, I want to be fair to them on that score. It sounds like they are on board with a Best Buy-esque like solution, right? It says Toys R Us will now match prices from selected online competitor websites, including Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Sears, Kmart, BuyBuyBaby.com, Mayercom, I don't know them, Fred Meyers, that's a big chain up in the Northwest, Diapers.com, Baby Depot, and ding, 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 Amazon.com. Now, there's a little parenthetical, not including marketplace pricing, which I don't quite know what that means, but it does sound like they are getting on board with that model, which I think is a key element to save brick and mortar businesses from going the way of dinosaurs, right?
It's what you kind of have to do. And, it may cost you a little bit of money because obviously you are brick and mortar, but, hey, people are conditioned, I think, I know I am, to be okay with waiting 2 days if it means I save $5, and they have to compete that way. So definitely Toys R Us, let's hope they stay around for a good long while. And I think we have time for just one more story. And I think,
maybe find a short one.
Yeah. Story number 7. It's, by the way, everyone, if you want to go check it out, do your homework. AR glasses, pretty cool. Story number 8, though. Story 8 is pretty good.
How about story 9? That one's pretty intriguing.
Even better.
I think we can go through that pretty quick.
Go for it.
Story number 9. I love this one. Airline plans to use electric airplanes in 10 years. Is that possible? Story from Ars Technica, which is a great outlet. Story by Timothy B. Lee. And my notes say technical, but that's wrong. It's Technica. Great story. It says, one of Europe's largest airlines, EasyJet, announced Wednesday, by the way, the story was filed on the 1st of October, that it is aiming to begin service with electric-powered airplanes within the next decade. EasyJet will be collaborating with an aviation startup called Wright Electric to make this vision a reality. The companies have ambitious goals. They want to build airlines with room for 120 to 220 passengers and a range of 335 miles. That's so ambitious, in fact, that I was a little skeptical that anyone would take this seriously. The fundamental problem is a matter of physics. The energy density of jet fuel is way, way higher than the energy density of batteries. As a result, when a conventional airplane can travel thousands of miles before refueling, electric airplanes can only travel a fraction of that distance before they run out of juice. Yet, there's significant room for improvement in electrical airplane technology, argued NASA scientist Sean Clark in a Thursday email to ours, meaning an email to this reporter. He said, electric propulsion systems may be relevant in the marketplace sooner than you might expect because they can be much more efficient, the fellow from NASA explained.
Right.
Not only is battery performance steadily improving, Clark argues, but there are ways to improve the performance of electric motors and thereby squeeze more range out of existing battery technology. And there's another way to capture most of the benefits of electric airplanes while still achieving reasonable range. A Seattle startup called Zunum, Z-U-N-U-M Aero, is developing an electric airplane that combines battery power with a conventional generator. Interesting hybrid, right? Zunum expects its first airplane, which is aiming to release in the early 2020s, will have a range of 700 miles, far enough to serve many popular short-haul routes in the United States and around the world. Big question is, how long does it take to recharge these aircraft, right? If that's to sit at the airport for 20 hours or something, that's not going to work. But I mean, this is the idea that people are even talking about commercial passenger jet electric airplanes blows my mind. I mean, just what? It's great.
I mean, for, maybe shorter, like personally, I live in a city that doesn't have a very big airport, but, it's within an hour flight of a large airport. Maybe those smaller flights, it would make a lot more sense than large commercial.
Yeah.
And by the way, hopefully in the next couple of months, if not years, we will be hearing more about sodium-ion batteries, which will be replacing lithium-ion battery. So, it just takes that one battery breakthrough before all this, pie in the sky, we could do this with batteries and electricity. It just takes one breakthrough and then we can do them all. It's going to be super exciting.
That's right.
So, and with that, we're just flat out of time. Ralph, I got to say, enjoy retirement, and of course you're going to be on the Computer America show for a long time to come, but a big step, and thank you for coming on the show. This was great.
Oh, it was great fun today. And by the way, for Autodesk, if you're interested, we have our big Autodesk University convention coming up in November 14 through 16 at the Venetian Hotel in good old Las Vegas. God bless Las Vegas after what they've been through.
Absolutely.
Anyway, check it out. Come out to Autodesk.com and just search under Autodesk University if you're interested in seeing what we're going to be doing next month.
All right. So, and of course, links to that and more at computeramerica.com along with the show notes. Ralph, until next time, catch you then.
Hey, thanks a lot.
All right, bye-bye. All right, and folks, there you have it. If you want to, So, and folks, if you want to hear more, you can of course check out computeramerica.com, where we have the entire past week of shows and more over there in podcast form and video form. And of course, check out IRN for listening to Computer America Live, and be sure to check out Blog Talk Radio for just the audio portion. So until next time, everyone, have a great day, have a great weekend, happy Friday the 13th once again, and be sure to catch us Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. So everyone, have a great day. Bye-bye.